another fantastic player, very creative, a passing metronome. He can play in the Gravenberg position, can play in the McAllister position. I do think that that's an area we could do with a little bit of a shake-up. Is he robust enough? Is he strong enough? How many times have we heard, it's going to be a big summer, it's going to be a big summer, and then it turns out it isn't a big summer? I think this year it's definitely going to be a big summer.
Delighted to be joined by Mo Stewart, the man himself. Obviously, we are focusing on a league title procession, but there are massive questions over this squad. Who's going to be going? There's quite a few that we expect to be going, but also who's going to be coming in. I think we all agree, Mo, one of the main priorities is number 9.
Absolutely. It's funny because how many times have we heard it's going to be a big summer, it's going to be a big summer, and then it turns out it isn't a big summer? I think this year it's definitely going to be a big summer.
I mean, we all agree that a 9 is probably the number 1 priority for the summer. We all dream of an Alexander Isak. But if it's not him, is there any players that are like on your radar? Obviously, there's Ekitike, there's Liam Delap, there's João Pedro, Cunha. I mean, I'm not sure about those 3.
So, if you ask me to rank those, I would probably have Cunha at the top, then Ekitike, then Delap, then João Pedro. But I think with all of them, there is a risk and reward to be paid. Obviously, Cunha's release clause, I believe, is £63 million. So you're looking at someone coming into play as a starter, really. If you're spending £63 million on him, it's probably a little bit more proven than someone like Ekitike. But then I do think Hugo's ceiling potentially is greater if he gets into the right system. So it's going to be someone, the new Ian Graham, whoever is in that room crunching the numbers, they're the ones who are going to be able to tell you exactly who is going to be the best fit. But again, that's a really important point. We still don't fully know exactly what Slot wants from his number 9 because we've just seen him work with what he's got so far. So I think once that decision is made, we start to see which direction he goes in.
So you've got a number 9. What's the next priorities? Give me your top 5 priorities.
Number 9, left back, a right back who can maybe also play centre back, and a midfielder option. I think left back is an important problem because at the moment, if you're an opponent manager, it's probably an area you're looking to target down Liverpool's left side. And yeah, I dare say we might need someone who can play on the other side as well.
Do we though, or is Conor Bradley good enough? Would you have Bradley and then sign a backup instead?
Conor Bradley's good enough, but is he robust enough? Is he strong enough? Is he able to go a whole season playing 45, 50 games? That's my concern. Nothing about his ability. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think he's going to become as big a jewel for this club as Trent has been over his career. But I do think that we need to be looking at someone who can also play with him. And the thing about him is that he's a very different footballer to Trent. So you need to find some way of replicating the qualities that Trent has, whether you have a right back who can do some of those things or whether you look to a midfielder who can do some of those things. I think it's important to have different options. So I would be slightly nervous if our only right backs at the start of the season are Conor Bradley, Joe Gomez and Jarrell Quansah.
So for me, I would take Aina from Forest. Homegrown, experience, proven in the Premier League, and available on a free transfer, yes. So we don't have to spend money on a backup or a rotation option at full-back. And then you spoke about the midfield there, midfield options. I'd be looking at Adam Wharton still and throwing big money there, to replace Trent via other areas of the team. Yeah. Is that still an area that you think, because our midfield's been great, but is it still an area that you think, especially with Trent going, we need to actually adapt?
I do. I think it becomes more important with Trent's departure. I also think that you look at the last 6 weeks to 2 months of the team and realise that as much as those first 3 are probably going to be the first choice, you need to have players who can come in without any kind of level dropping. You need to be able to rest them at times. You need to be able to look at different options at times. So I do think having another midfielder to add to the squad. A couple of guys who I'd throw into the hat. Angelo Stiller at Stuttgart, I think, is another fantastic player, very creative, a passing metronome. He could play in the Gravenberg position, could play in the McAllister position. Someone else who I think we've forgotten about, Stefan Bajcetic, who has been playing very, very well, not only for Las Palmas, but for the Spain youth teams. He's coming up to decision time in terms of where he is in his Liverpool career. He could have a very good pre-season and fight his way into that reckoning.
We've heard from Slot recently talking about versatility as an attribute that they look for in a new signing. I like the look of Xavi Simons?
I think he's another talented footballer, and again, depending upon how Slot feels like the best makeup for his attack is, he could find a spot for him. He is very versatile, as you say, so he can potentially fill a lot of roles. My only quibble with Xavi Simons is that he's not the quickest in the world. And again, we've literally just spoken about Harvey Elliott. If Liverpool were to bring in Xavi Simons and after telling Harvey Elliott, we don't think that you're good enough, he could be looking at him going, well, I can outrun him. So why do you not believe in me? So it's difficult. Obviously, there's a Dutch connection. Obviously, the situation with Leipzig means that he probably is going to be available at a good price. You can see him go into a team and really doing well. I still have my doubts as to whether that team will be us.
So if it's not Xavi Simons, who should we go for from Leipzig?
Lois Openda. He's also very versatile. He's a lot quicker. He's someone who can hold the ball up, someone who runs the channels, someone who he can bring other players into play, but he also does the thing you need from a striker. He puts the ball in the back of the net. At the moment, he's being overshadowed a little bit by Benjamin Šeško because of the way that Leipzig play, but if you were to give him a more primary role, then he'll be able to reward you with goals. He's got 3 years left on his deal, I believe. He's 25. He's played in Germany. He's played in France. He's scored goals wherever he's gone. I think he's someone who, if you give him the opportunity to raise up a level, you'll see his numbers raise up as well.
Is that as a left winger or as a 9?
I would say that I would be buying him as a 9, but I would definitely see him as also an option to play left wing as well.
Departure-wise, obviously we're looking at Nunes, Jota, possibly Diaz as well. I'm really intrigued by Harvey Elliott because, for me, I would have him. I would keep him. I would have had him involved a lot more. I think he's had a very difficult hand dealt to him.
Yes.
But maybe then that means that he just doesn't fit in with Stott's idea of what he needs. Where do you stand on Harvey Elliott's future? You know, if he as a player sees that he's got to move on for his own development.
I think it's a difficult situation. I think he's still only 22, just turned 22. But we have to remember there's a World Cup at the end of this season. And he's seen his teammate Curtis Jones break his way into that England squad. And he probably looks around at some of the other players, your Morgan Gibbs-Whites, your Morgan Rogers, and thinks, well, I've got as much quality at them. If I'm playing regularly for a team that's doing well, then I'll probably be able to force my way in. So he might start to think that. But it's a difficult situation because I do believe that Slot is starting to learn a little bit more about him. He's starting to believe that maybe he can use him a little bit more. But fundamentally, when you speak to Slot and you hear about what he wants out of a midfielder, those physical attributes, he's not going to grow. He's not going to get faster. Like, this is who he is in that score. So it's a shame. I really do think, because I'm like you, I think he's got quality. I think he brings something that the rest of the midfielders don't bring at the moment. I just don't know whether or not Slot's going to be convinced that he can work from the start in games and whether that's going to be enough.